Welcome to the B Sharp live chat of, by, and for private music instructors. If you teach a musical instrument, you are tuned into the right place. And we're glad you're here. We're your hosts, Johnny and Luna Bender. We are full-time private music instructors with a combined 40 years of music experience. We discuss the issues, challenges, and actionable items needed to make a full-time career in private music instruction and how to live comfortably doing it, working fewer hours while earning a six-figure salary. So sit back, grab a coffee or your drink of choice, like, share, and subscribe, and send us your super chats, and we'll answer them as soon as we figure out how to read them because this is our second episode. Had our first episode last week. If you haven't heard it, go back to musicsoft.net, click on the live stream in the menu, and listen to our first episode. It was a pretty good episode. There was a lot of information there, a lot of information that we packed into that first show. This show is sponsored by the good people at MusicSoft, which is us, by the way. MusicSoft is academic scheduling and business management software created and designed specifically for private music instructors. That's you. You've probably found that after getting a handful of students, you're spending more time doing administrative work than actual teaching. You don't get paid to do administrative work. You don't get paid spending hours on the phone rescheduling with students. You don't get paid chasing clients down for payment. You don't get paid to draw up semester long contractual agreements with your students. These administratives all take time. They are draining your time and your bank account more so than you can even imagine. The time is your most valuable asset. You get paid to teach. And that's what MusicSoft allows you to do. You don't employ a large administrative staff, so you need a system that does that tedious work for you. But the business management software systems are designed for big corporations with big budgets. Until now. Finally, you, the individual private music instructor, now have access to the powerful business suite of tools previously only available to big corporations with deep pockets. Introducing MusicSoft, your private music instructor business management software. Just like the car replaced horses with 50 horsepower, music gives you 50 staff power, doing for you what a private staff of 50 employees would otherwise do to operate your music teaching business, allowing you to convert those boring and wasteful non chargeable hours into profitable chargeable hours doing what you love. And depending on your hourly rate, you could teach just 20 hours a week, which is only half a work week, and be making a six-figure income just 1 year from now. So, who's got the real job now? You wanted to be a music teacher when you were growing up. You said, "I want to be a music. I want to do music for a living." And everybody said, "Oh, make sure you have a backup plan. Do you have something in case that falls through? In case that falls through." Now, if you say you want to be a doctor, attorney, a lawyer, they say, "Do you have something to fall? Do you have music to fall back on?" You can. Do you have music to fall back on? Do you have music to fall back on just in case being a doctor falls through? In case you lose your license because you say the wrong thing? Because you want to heal people? They want you to give them drugs. Well, I want them to actually heal. All right, then you lose your license. I shouldn't be. We're treading waters now. We might not be on this platform next week. I want to actually represent my clients well. You might have to fall back on music. You're not going to make any money that way as an attorney. No.
Ouch. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're just
getting really real quick.
It's getting real. Yeah. The samurai passes through the fire. The samurai sword, that is. Hopefully not the samurai himself.
The samurai sword. That's right.
All right. Say something.
Okay.
I'm Johnny. This is my cohort, my partner in crime, Luna. We are both private music instructors, full-time private music instructors. People come in here, they sit on a piano bench, and we go, "This is middle C." I just realized my piano's not here.
Oh, yeah,
We forgot to bring our piano up.
Piano is not here.
Well, we had band rehearsal 2 nights ago.
Yeah. Well, a little background for myself. I come from mainland China, And it's funny that you mentioned about who's got the real job. It's the same way over there. Growing up, nobody ever takes music lesson because they are becoming a professional musician. Of course, you know the Chinese parents. They always say, "Oh no, no, you do not do music. You can't support yourself, so you need a real job." But the Chinese parents always want their children to learn music, not because they want to make the children well-rounded students of music. It's just because in China, the setting is if you take a musical instrument.
They want their children to be well-rounded students, just not musicians.
Well, that's actually not their goal.
Oh, that's not their goal.
That's not their goal.
I take it back.
For
They
99%,
don't want well-rounded students. Okay.
99% of the Chinese parents who want their children to take musical instruments so they can go take a certification, which is a sheet of paper. They show that you can play instrument, which will help you get into a better school. Okay, that's the end goal. It has nothing to do with whether you're enjoying the music or not. Period. Okay. There's so many students over there. There's just not that many good schools over there. So in order to get your children into a better school, they say, "Oh well, does your child know how to play an instrument?" "Oh well, they all do." "Okay. Well, which of them is level 10?" And then they take the few students that is level 10 on a certain instrument, and then the rest of them get rejected. So that's how it works, at least where I came from.
Do you have to study Erhu? We're looking for an Erhu teacher, by the way, if anybody teaches Erhu. It's Erhu. It's that Chinese instrument. It's that little octagon box with the snake skin. And he goes, okay, that's my singing voice this morning.
That's right. Yeah.
I just woke up.
Depending on the school district and what they're interested in. Yeah, if you have a specific instrument they really, really need it, you have a better chance of getting into the school. A little bit different from what is going on here in America. Anyway, so last episode you were talking about how to turn your non-chargeable hours into chargeable hours, Jeff. Great question.
Non-chargeable hours. What is a non-chargeable hour? It's an hour that you work for which you do not get paid. Somebody calls you up on the phone and says, "I've got a." Well, actually, we could do that. So I spoke with somebody last night who was talking about how they just completely forgot about their daughter's lesson at the. And then they were like, I didn't want to call the music teacher up and say, hey, can we reschedule, because we just completely forgot. But that's another thing, talking about rescheduling. But a non-chargeable hour, somebody calls you up, one of your students, their parents calls you up and says, I'm not going to be able to make it today, can we reschedule? And then now you think, okay, well, sure, if you just have one student, then you have all the time in the world to reschedule. But if you have 5 or 6 students, once you get up to about 5 or 6 students, now you have to say, okay, let me load up, let me take a look at my calendar. And you got that little planner with the calendar, and you just have to start flipping through the pages. And then you look and you say, okay, well, what about next Tuesday? And then they say, oh, I think Tuesday they've got field hockey. Well, what about Wednesday? Well, on Wednesday, we've got dinner that we're going to, and then you get into this whole back and forth, right? You have your schedule in front of you, and they have their schedule in front of them, but you can't see your client's schedule, and your clients can't see your schedule. So you're just shooting in the dark, basically. You're just, what about this time? Okay, that doesn't work. What about that time? Oh, and before you know it, 15 minutes has gone by. You've lost 15 minutes. And then, or maybe they're like, oh, I'm driving right now. They always call us when they're driving, because that's the only time they have to talk, because everybody's so stacked up with stuff to do. And they call you when they're driving. And now you're like, well, what about Tuesday? Well, what about Wednesday? Well, what about Friday? Well, what about Sunday? And they're like, oh, I think let me call you back later. And you've gone and you've had a 10-minute conversation while they're driving. And then you have to have another 10-minute conversation. And then now you have to schedule a time to get back on the phone to schedule a time to have their child's music lesson, right? And so all of this is just taking up time, time. And if three people call you, that's an hour. That's an hour that's gone by. Well, if you charge $50 an hour, you just lost $50. You lost $50. Now you may be thinking, oh, well, it doesn't really work like that. Yes, it does. That's exactly how it works. That's an hour that you could have been teaching. And by the time you get to five or six students, that's it. You're slammed. And I know a lot of you, when you get to five or six students, every time you get that seventh student, that's really the magic number. One new student comes in, one new student goes out. You lose a student, and you don't know, and you think that's just kind of the way it goes, right? So, well, that student wasn't interested or whatever it is, and that's not what it is. What's happening is there's these phantom hours that you're just racking up, these non-chargeable hours that you're racking up doing scheduling, contracting, chasing down payments, taking checks to the bank, all this stuff. What else do we do? A lot. um,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the parents they come in, they're like, "Oh, what part of the book are you in? I don't know, kind of lost track." And then you have to kind of sit and circle it on the book and say, "Well, it's over here." And then the parents they would say, "Well, what about the equipment? What do we need?" And you're like, "Oh, well, let me go back and check my notes from last week." And you go back to your papers or your notes or whatever, or your homework, and this is all time that you're spending keeping track and trying to figure out where was I with this student last time. And then some teachers, I've heard that some teachers they kind of just say, well, I just kind of communicate with the parents on a month to month thing and see if they're coming back in November or if they're coming back in December. It's the same time every week anyway, so they're just going to come. But that's actually not the case because you have the school holidays, you have the holidays, you have people that are visiting their parents, they're going on vacation. It's
Exams.
not a month to month thing. They don't just show up every month at the same time.
Yeah.
So not only you're rescheduling your lessons, you're rescheduling your lesson every single month.
Yeah, and that's the contractual thing, which is that is related to the chargeable hours. But just on the non-chargeable hours, the administrative stuff that you're doing on a week to week basis, and yes, that is rolling them over from month to month. You're absolutely right. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's a good point. You're on the phone saying, you're coming back next month. Oh well, we're going on vacation. Can we only have two less, and then there's Thanksgiving. Can we only have two lessons next month? And then they forget about it and they don't practice. And by the time December rolls around, it's exams and done. You've lost the student. The student's gone. And that's the contractual part, right? So if you sign up for MusicSoft takes care of all that contractual stuff for you. You put in your policies, you get the contract, you invoice them twice. Boom, they pay for the whole semester. They're done. If they don't show up, that's on them, not on you, right? So what MusicSoft does is that reverses that from you having all you not getting paid to them not getting their lessons, but you still get paid, right? If they don't show up, well, you scheduled that time. You're not scheduling lessons, you're scheduling time. But let's go back to the non-chargeable hours, and that is important. We'll get to that contract stuff. The non-chargeable hours, the amount of administrative stuff that you're doing on a week-to-week basis to just get a couple of 4 or 5 music students in. By the time you get to that seventh music student, you're doing so much rescheduling that you just have no idea. If you were to map it all out in a spreadsheet and see how much time you're spending on non-chargeable items, things you don't get paid to do, you would be flabbergasted. You would be unbelievable. It's unbelievable. If you spend 10 hours a week doing administrative stuff, rescheduling, taking checks to the bank, chasing down payments. The client comes, they forgot their checkbook. You got all this stuff that you're doing, all this paperwork, this looking through your planner, talking on the phone, texting back and forth. Um, if you spend 10 hours doing non-chargeable items in a week and you charge $50 for a lesson, Well, it's called opportunity cost. If you've taken economics, you know this. If you haven't taken economics, it's called opportunity cost. The thing you could have been doing had you not been doing what you were doing. So if you have a choice to do X or Y, if you do X, Y is called the opportunity cost, the letter Y. So you didn't do your opportunity cost. That's the you had an opportunity to do Y, but you didn't do it. So that's the cost. That's what you're giving up to do X. And you learn that when you first start taking economics. So your opportunity cost is a $50 lesson. You were sitting there rescheduling for an hour with three different clients, but you could have made $50 teaching a lesson, right? And so you're losing $50 in that hour. And if you do 10 hours worth of non chargeable work, you've lost 10 hours times $50, which is $500. You've lost $500 doing 10 hours of administrative work. So if you purchased, say, a software program, a software suite of tools specifically made for private music instructors that allows you to earn an extra $500 a week, what would you pay for that software program? Well, would you pay $499 a week for it? Sure, because then at least you'll be up an extra dollar. Now, it doesn't cost $499 a week. It doesn't cost anywhere near that. So you may as well make the extra $500. And if you think to yourself, well, I'm not spending 10 hours in administrative work. Yes, you are. You're spending more. You are spending more. I could come into your studio and I could point and say, oh, well, this right here, the software could do that. There's no reason you need to be doing that. This right here, all this kind of stuff. That's why people employ software. Technology is a process accelerator. It doesn't add processes to your business. It just makes the processes you're already doing faster.
That's right. And someone even may say, well, I don't have seven students. I only have two or three students. So I don't spend nearly as many hours, like you said, doing administrative stuff. Well, let's say, okay, fine, you don't spend 10 hours a week. Maybe you only spend 1 or 2 hours a week doing administrative stuff. Think about it. If you had the software, if you could have just saved those 1 or 2 hours and you didn't feel like using that to teach and make the extra $50, $100, what could you use that 1 or 2 hours for? For something else that you might actually enjoy doing. One way or another, you get that hour, you get that 2, 3 hours of time, whether you choose to teach and earn a tuition from that, or whether you choose to do something for yourself. I've had so many people who come to me and they say, oh, I wish I have that extra hour to do something for myself. And even I've had parents who come in there like, oh, I really wish I had the time because I would pick up an instrument. I just don't have enough an extra hour. So yes, having an extra hour or 2 hours, even for the sake of doing something for yourself, is really, really important as well.
Okay, we are coming up on a break. We'll take a little break here and we will be right back. Music teachers, tutors, private music instructors. How would you like to earn a six-figure salary in the next 365 days? We did it, and in the next 60 seconds, we'll show you exactly how. What would you do with a six-figure salary? Pay off your bills, take a much-deserved vacation, move out of your mother's house, buy that luxury car that's been on your mind, or boat. You're already doing what you love, which is music, but you've probably found that after getting a handful of students, you're spending more time doing administrative work than actual teaching. You don't employ an administrative assistant, so you need a system that does that tedious work for you. But the business management software systems are designed for big corporations with big budgets. Until now. Finally, you, the individual private music instructor, now have access to the powerful business suite of tools previously only available to big corporations with deep pockets. Introducing MusicSoft, your private music instructor business management software. Just like the car replaced horses with 50 horsepower, MusicSoft gives you 50 staff power, doing for you what a private staff of 50 employees would otherwise do to operate your music teaching business, allowing you to convert those boring and wasteful non chargeable hours into profitable chargeable hours doing what you love. Manage your client base with MusicSoft's prospect intake and legally binding contract creation modules. No more weekly or month to month payments where clients don't pay or quit on you mid term. Instead, use MusicSoft's auto scheduling, flexible invoicing component. Watch all your scheduling woes melt away with MusicSoft's integrated concurrent drag and drop scheduler, from automated invoicing, lesson notification, multi user account management, and reports that keep your fingers on the pulse of your business, and so much more. You will soon expand your private instruction studio to its full capacity with seemingly no effort at all, allowing you to do what you actually want to do, your true love and passion. My true love and passion: music, not administrative clerical work. After all, you could do that for a big corporation at a fraction of your potential income using MusicSoft. And depending on your hourly rate, you could teach just 20 hours a week, which is only half a work week, and be making a six-figure salary just 1 year from now. So contact us today to schedule your free demonstration to see how our MusicSoft private music instructor management system can allow you to achieve your goals and dreams. And if you already have a music school or you manage other teachers and assign them students, MusicSoft's faculty management and room scheduling system will make managing your professional music studio smooth as butter. You have already taken the first step by beginning your private music teaching business. Now, expand your client base without the administrative nightmare that otherwise comes with client expansion while doing business with paper. Instead, use MusicSoft, which is consumer grade business management software. Contact us today for your free demo and watch your business magically transform from difficult to easy literally overnight. MusicSoft systems for private music teachers and music instructors. Contact us today. Musicsoft.net. Okay, we're back. We are back. We're sitting in our green silk chairs here. These very beautiful chairs in this studio. We should call this the Green Silk Chair Studio. I like these chairs.
Yeah, we have a lot of Oriental element things because of, I guess you've gotten tainted from all of my Chineseness.
Luna's Chinese, by the way.
That's right,
Let,
mainland China.
let's hope they don't become green, beautiful silk coffee stained chairs with all the coffee we drink through here. All right, what would you like to do?
Yes, chargeable hours.
Sound like the guy from
Chargeable
Star Wars.
hours. So what other kind of non-chargeable hours are there besides rescheduling? I have heard of some people who told me, oh, before we came to you all for lessons, we have 3 children and we have this piano teacher who comes to our home, and she teaches all 3 of them each half an hour, and then she leaves. So.
Oh gosh. Right. Right. What do you do for a living? I sit in traffic and I don't get paid. Wow. That sounds fun and rewarding and financially rewarding. Go ahead. Is that where you were going?
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Sorry, I shouldn't be flippant about it.
Oh, that's okay. Well, let's.
I used to do that. I used to travel to people's homes. Oh, talk about, you may as well just take all your money and throw it in the fireplace and set it on fire. Go ahead.
The number of hours that you are spending. It's like I think of it this way. You are going to teach a piano lesson, but you're actually paying for that lesson. Your student is getting it, but you're paying for it. And you're like, oh well, how does that work? Well, think about it. Let's just assume that
Or any lesson, not
any
just piano.
yeah, any lesson, really. You are
And remember, you spend 10,000 hours of time becoming an expert on your instrument.
exactly.
And now you're going to go drive to somebody else's home to, okay, go ahead.
No, let's really think about this in detail. Okay, so before you're going to your lesson, you got to get dressed, you got to get ready, you have to look presentable, right? And then you have to pack all of your stuff, whatever instrument you're bringing, your books, your exercise things, and then you get them in the car, and then you drive.
They don't get dressed presentably. They're musicians. They got ripped jeans and ripped shirts.
Well, that might be their choice of style. Nevertheless, they stand in front of a mirror and they take a look at themselves, right? And so whether you spend 5 minutes doing that or you're like me, you spend like 20 minutes doing that, but that's time you spend preparing. And then you get your stuff in the car and then you get your GPS set or whatever you get on the road. Okay. You can be either 10 minutes away from your students or you're 15, 20, 30 minutes away from your students. Let's assume maybe there is no traffic. So right there, you're already half hour out the door at
Yes,
least.
but the GPS, let's say it takes a minute to put their address in the GPS. If you charge $60 an hour, well, you just took $1 out of your pocket and just threw it out the window.
Exactly. And that's just one little thing. And then let's say you have to get your stuff out of the car, whatever instrument. If you're teaching cello, good luck getting that cello out of there. And then bring it into the house. And if the people's home, if they have dogs, maybe the dog come up to the door and they start barking. How many times have you gone to somebody's home and then you ring the doorbell and the dog start barking?
What if you're teaching timpani?
and then when
You have to lug those 4 timpanis out of your Kia.
Teach xylophone, right?
There you are with your bungee cord and your timpani, your 4 timpanis in your trunk going down
That is amazing.
I-847.
Yeah, if
Go
you
ahead.
teach electric guitar, you gotta bring your amp, bring your wires, bring your cables, bring everything. Think about what you have to bring. How many times do you forget things? Oh, I forgot my pick. Oh, I forgot this. I forgot that. But anyway, you get to the door and they've got a dog barking at you. And when they open the door, they're like, oh, go back, Rosie, go back. And then, they're trying to block that dog and you go in. Okay, so you make it into the door. How much time did that take? 5, 10 minutes? And you kind of chit chat with the parents.
And you start sneezing
and
for some reason.
You pet the dog.
You keep sneezing.
And then
Y'all change your filters recently?
I know. And then you go into the supposedly the set up music room in their home.
And the
it's
baby's crying.
never set up
And the cat
like
is rubbing
a
up
music studio, right? You've got toys over here.
and you're allergic to cats.
And there's stuff or storage everywhere. You finally make it. Well, you haven't even started your lesson yet. It's like what? 45 minutes since the time you begin this endeavor already. All right?
I know. Their homes are as bad as your home. But you've got that one home, you've got that one room in your home which is kept perfectly clean as a music studio.
That's right.
At least.
And you know your setup. You know what is comfortable for you to teach. You're familiar with the environment because you're the professional. But the families, they don't know that. They don't know how to set up a music room so that it could be a productive,
So it's functional.
comfortable, and functional lesson. And how many times do you go in there and the student's like, oh, I haven't unpacked my music stand yet. Oh, let me find where's my book? I've had students who come in like, I don't know where my book is. And they sit down, they go through their bag and they look for their book for 5 minutes.
No, there's too many distractions. They go up to their room.
Yeah. And then, their
Somebody's
brother and
using the
sister walk
blender
in.
in the kitchen. Somebody's using the blender. Or you're trying to tune your violin.
I know. When Johnny used to travel to students' home back then, he would have their dog walk in on the lesson and just start being cute and looking for attention.
I know the dogs like me, and the dogs like music. They love the music. They're gonna come in and be, oh hey, it's my music lesson.
Exactly. I've had students where the older sibling is taking the lesson and they've got a baby in the house who know how to run and walk, they like the music too. So they just walk in on the lesson and start goo goo gagaing, and you can't get that lesson started. Or if you start it a minute, 2 minutes into it, boy, you get interrupted and interrupted. And somehow an hour, 2 hours you've spent already, and you're not getting anything done. You haven't get into one excerpt in the book.
Yeah, and what's 2 hours? If you charge X dollars an hour, 2 hours is 2x, you know? So,
That's right. And that's only half the process. So let's say you get in at 9 and you finish at 10, or you're getting at 4 o'clock and you finish at 5. Okay. You only get paid between 4 and 5. But when 5 o'clock gets there, you have to then pack up your instrument, get all of your stuff, move it back in the trunk, and then drive home. And then 5 o'clock, you're in traffic. You don't know how long you're going to be sitting in traffic, and you're not getting paid for that at all. But you're still working for that lesson. You're not done yet. You're on your way home. You can't do anything else productive. You're not teaching another lesson at all. Plus, when you're driving to your student's home, how think about it. Ask yourself the question, how far are you from your house or wherever you got to go to your student's home? And then times two, and how much is the price of gasoline in your area?
yeah, and wear and tear. And you may not realize wear and tear is that much, but wear and tear really it adds up. You know, you take your car in, and then all of a sudden you have a $1,300 bill. Well, that's $100. A $1,200 bill, and that's $100 per month for the year, and so it's just wear and tear on the car, and then you got to replace your tires, and that's another $400. It all adds. What we're trying to say right now is don't travel to people's homes to give them lessons. Do not travel to people's homes to give them lessons. They come to your home, your service provider, and you have to have back-to-back lessons. It's impossible for you to have back-to-back lessons if you travel to other people's homes. And when you travel, that's a non-chargeable hour. You don't get paid. And not only do you not get paid, you could sit around at home and do nothing for 3 hours and make more money than driving to somebody's home to give them a lesson. Because when you're driving to somebody's home, you're burning cash through that fuel, through just stress, the psychological stress of going through traffic and having to, deal with all these people who are driving cars and trying to cut you off. Do not drive to people's homes.
I've even had teachers who drive all the way, 25 minutes out to somebody's home to give a half-hour lesson. Not even an hour lesson. They're getting paid for half hour. They're spending 3 hours subsidizing that lesson.
Now, if you drive to people's homes right now, and if we've convinced you to stop driving to people's homes, you can't just call up your students and say, oh, by the way, I'm not driving to your home anymore. You have to come to my house. You can't do that. You have to make a transition. Every change that you make in business has to be very soft. It has to be a soft landing. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to begin acquiring more students, because your clients can tell when you're bluffing. they can tell. And if you start acquiring more students, they'll know. They just know. They have this sense about it, like, oh, you're starting to get more students. The squeeze is on, right? And you need that time, that travel time for back-to-back students. And so what you do is, once you start to get a few more students, 5 or 6 students, then you send out a message and you say, by the way, beginning next semester, we're not going to be traveling. We will be traveling this semester, but make your plans. Give them 3 months out to start making their plans, because they've got to take their children to volleyball and soccer and football and pottery class and pick them up and drop them off, and dad's going to drop them and mom's going to drop them, and maybe they're divorced, unfortunately, and all this kind of stuff. And so they need that time. They need to know that you respect their time, and you do have to respect their time. So still keep traveling, but just send the memo out that says, just let you know it's October right now. Beginning in January of the next year, we're not going to be able to travel. You're going to come to our home. We got a beautiful studio set up. Show them a picture of your studio. Make sure it's absolutely professional. It's got all the tools that you need. It's clean. It's set up. Vacuum the carpet. You may think, well, they can't see the dirt in the carpet. It just contributes to the general feng shui of which is the order and flow of the energy in the room. Get it all clean, take a picture and send it out and say, we've got all the equipment set up. We have everything you need for a professional music studio. And beginning in January, we're going to be doing lessons at our professional studio or our home studio. That's fine. You can teach at home, but you can't keep traveling.
That's right.
You're losing money. You're in the red at the end of the year. I know you get your tax return back and it says, you made a couple $1,000s or whatever. You didn't. Because you've got a $2,500 car payment coming up.
Yeah, that's funny. Absolutely. Give the students time, give the parents time. But with every new student that you get, once you make the decision, you say, okay, I am going to stop. I'm going to start the actions to stop traveling. Then every new student you get, they are not aware of how you used to teach prior. So you tell the new students, you come to my home studio. That way the new student know, okay, all right, from day one, I come to the teacher's studio. That way you don't have to transition more people. You only tell the existing students that you have, and then also kind of have the general expectation that a couple of them may take some time to process that. So that's totally fine. Give them plenty of time, and for every new student you register, have them come to your studio.
And let me give you a little linguistic trick here. May seem small, but it makes all the difference in closing a sale. So when you're on the phone with that prospect and they say, do you come to our home? Would you come to our home? They're going to test you. They don't expect you to come to their home. And if you say you come to their home, even though they want you to come to their home because it's more convenient for them, somewhere in the back of their mind, they're thinking at a very deep subconscious level. They're thinking, this guy's probably not as good as the people who have to go to his home. this girl's probably not as good of a teacher, but whatever. We'll just have them come to our home because it's convenient, right? It's their opportunity cost. They don't want to have to drive, and so they're all going to ask you, and you may start to feel the pressure. Oh, they're asking me. I got to tell them to come to, and so the conversation may go like this. The prospect may ask you, do we come to you or can you come to our home? And you may be tempted to say, you come to my home. Don't say it like that. Don't use the word you because that's a little bit accusatory and it's kind of like you're giving it. Instead of saying you come to my home, what you do is you say, I teach out of my home studio. You've taking that crystal ball that you're hypnotizing with them on the phone. No, you don't really want to hypnotize, but you're directing their attention away from the fact that they have to travel to the fact that you are a professional teacher that's worth coming to the lesson. And that's important. So don't use the word you. Start the sentence with the word I. Or if you have multiple instructors, we. We teach out of our home studio. And you smile when you say, okay, you teach out of your home studio. It's like, these aren't the droids you're looking for, right? You have to direct them to where you want. It's like a magic trick. You have to direct them to where you want to be, and you have to get them away from thinking about the drive and more toward thinking about, oh, your professional home studio. Okay, yes. And they expect that. Yeah, they want you to come to their home, but they expect, if you're really a professional, they expect to come to you, right? You don't call up Marshalls or TJ Maxx and say, do you have blue jeans over there? Oh, you do? Could you drop them off at my home? Could you just get in your, could you do the Uber blue jeans and drop the blue jeans off in my, that might be
That might
coming.
be the next thing. I
There's an
know.
Uber
I
Eats.
think you just discovered some genius idea.
Uber Marshalls. Could you get me 5 neckties, please, and drop them over to my home at Uber neckties?
That is so funny. Yes, for for some of you who think, oh yeah, the parents, they're not. They're used to teachers going their home. They know. They don't ask the taekwondo teacher to come to their home, right? If they take their
He
children,
does have a bus though, but that's a class.
that's a class. That's true.
So he's got that bus.
Parents are used to driving their children to different activities all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's your job as a parent.
And also another thing is once you build up some more students, what you can say is, let's say a parent calls you and they say, hey, I want the 4 o'clock, I want a peak time on a weekday on 4 o'clock. And can you come to my home? Another thing you can say to them is, I have a 5 o'clock right after that in my studio. And then you're not saying, hey, I can't come to your home, but it doesn't need to be said.
Yeah, that's what we call the soft sell. Exactly. That's a very good point.
And if you do have,
You're not saying, haha, look at me, I've got all these students, I'm an amazing teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
What you're doing is saying, I've got a 5 o'clock violin lesson, but I do have 4 o'clock open. And then they know he ain't coming to our house.
Exactly. And not,
or she ain't coming to our house.
Statement, I have a 5 o'clock right after, not only explain to the parents that you're not available to go to their home, it also says your time is extremely valuable and your time is in demand. Now that parent is going to start thinking about scheduling. Oh, 5 o'clock is not available. If I want 5 o'clock next semester, I better let them know early. So now there's a little bit of that competition between other families and you with that prime after school hours, which just again kind of subconsciously give you the true value, your worth. The parents are not going to say, well, he doesn't have anything going on afterward, or she doesn't have anything going on afterward. I could just, take as much time, show up late, expect you to teach longer and push over the lesson time each time. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And it qualifies you as a good, in the prospect's mind, it qualifies you as a good teacher. Now we start at 4:30 because if you start at 4, I think the children, some of them get out at 3:30 and they can make it by 4, but I think a lot of them, they get out at 4, and so somehow or another the parents, or 3:45 or whatever it is, the parents can get here at 4:30. So if you give a 5 o'clock lesson from 5 to 6, you may then have to have a 4:30 to 5 o'clock lesson, which is a half-hour lesson. So you got to get a student who's 5 or 6 or maybe 7. At 7, that you need to put them into hour-long lessons. Don't, especially at 8. If 7, they could do, if they're really got some special needs, you could give them a half-hour lesson. But by the time never give an 8-year-old a half-hour lesson. Do not do it. Don't give an 8-year-old a half-hour lesson. You give an 8-year-old an hour-long lesson. If they say we only want a half-hour lesson, say I think there's an early child development program, for a bunch of 5-year-olds. Go stick them in that. Don't do it. Do not. And you may be thinking, oh, that doesn't apply to me. That's just not. But once you begin getting more students, because you're using MusicSoft and you're converting your non-chargeable hours to chargeable hours, you're earning money for those because the computer is doing the administrative and scheduling and invoicing and payments for you. Then you're going to be able to, you're not an economy of scale. You're not stamping out bookshelves on some factory line. What you teach is a custom job. Everything, like when you get a kitchen, you could either, not a kitchen, like a bookshelf. You could either go to the store and buy some particle board bookshelf, or you could go to a wood maker, a woodworker, and say, I want a custom bookshelf. Now you're going to get a bookshelf for a couple $100 from the store that's factory line, and everybody else has got the same particle board bookshelf. Or you can make a custom bookshelf for $2,500 or $3,500. That's custom, right? And so you get to pick exactly what you want. It's not factory line. The factory line stuff is cheap. The custom stuff is expensive. And that's the way it should be. There's nothing wrong with that. You're selling a custom service. If you are teaching a class, if you're a school teacher and you can fit 30 students in your class, you're selling a factory line class because you can add one extra student to that class, but you're not a school teacher. That's factory production because you can add a student to the, you can just keep adding students to the class, right? Keep it at 50, 60, 70, 80, right? And you can't do that, right? School orchestra, you can just add a new seat and somebody joins the orchestra. You're not doing that. You're selling a custom product. And so you are much more expensive, right? So you can get a custom bookshelf for $2,500. The percentage increase from $2,500 from 2000, if you get a $2,000 custom made bookshelf versus a $200 factory line bookshelf from a box, what's that be? You're the math person. What's that percentage?
Wait, what did you just? What's that on here?
If you get a $200 bookshelf versus a $2,000 bookshelf, what's the percentage increase?
Well,
I know.
200 is 10% of 2,000.
Yeah, I don't know if it compounds or whatever. It's a lot. It's thousands of percent increase. It's a lot. Some mathematician put that in the comments below. Somebody who can figure that out. And so you're selling a custom music lesson. It's custom, right? They come to you and you give them a custom lesson. You look and they play their instrument and you say, oh, okay. So on this particular measure, you need to raise your wrist by 2 millimeters. You need to adjust your lower vertebrae. But that's custom. You're not teaching a class full of students, and you can't stick a second person in that lesson. You're not giving a group lesson. And so it's expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. So don't give an 8-year-old a half-hour lesson. If the parent says, well, an hour lesson is too expensive, they're just looking for cheap babysitting. And babysitting is expensive. If babysitting is $35 or $40 an hour now, and you're giving piano lessons for $30 an hour, they're not coming for piano lessons. They're just coming for cheap babysitting. And I'm not being, that's not hyperbole. That's actually you have to at least charge high enough to weed out the people who are just looking for cheap babysitting. And believe me, you don't want those clients anyway. So you're giving a custom job. Don't feel bad about quoting the price. Yeah, it's an hour-long lesson. It's $60 an hour, $70 an hour, $80 an hour, $90 an hour, $100 an hour, $110 an hour, $120 an hour. You keep getting better and better as an instructor. You keep getting more and more students. They'll pay it. An attorney's making $450 an hour. He doesn't care. Doctors, attorneys, accountants, they don't care. It does and you may be thinking, oh, well, what about the people who need music? And that's a whole other conversation. We don't have time for that.
No,
But
yeah, absolutely right. I've had a musician who was looking into getting into teaching, and he was charging, I don't know, $35, and he was complaining to us that a couple of his students was trying to even haggle that price down. Oh, can't you do 20? I know this other guy down the street, he's doing 20, so why don't you do 20? I think 35 is a little high. And he was kind of getting pressured into it. He didn't know how to reject this particular client and say, I can't do that. And yes, you have to do that. Don't feel bad to tell your clients. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to look at that $10 hamburger and say, hey, can't you do 5? I don't want to pay $10 for this.
come back Thursday. It's senior day. All right, we're coming up on a break here. We will be right back in just a moment. Music teachers, tutors, private music instructors. How would you like to earn a 6-figure salary in the next 365 days? We did it, and in the next 60 seconds, we'll show you exactly how. What would you do with a 6-figure salary? Pay off your bills, Take a much deserved vacation, move out of your mother's house, buy that luxury car you've been meaning to buy, or boat. You're already doing what you love, which is music, but you've probably found that after getting a handful of students, you're spending more time doing administrative work than actual teaching. You don't employ an administrative assistant, so you need a system that does that tedious work for you. But the business management software systems are designed for big corporations with big budgets. Until now, finally, you, the individual private music instructor, now have access to the powerful business suite of tools previously only available to big corporations with deep pockets. Introducing MusicSoft, your private music instructor business management software. Just like the car replaced horses with 50 horsepower, MusicSoft gives you 50 staff power, doing for you what a private staff of 50 employees would otherwise be doing to operate your music teaching business, allowing you to convert those boring and wasteful non chargeable hours into profitable chargeable hours doing what you love. Manage your client base with MusicSoft's prospect intake and legally binding contract creation modules. No more weekly or month to month payments where clients don't pay or clients quit on you midterm. Instead, use MusicSoft's auto scheduling, flexible invoicing component. Watch all your scheduling woes melt away with MusicSoft's integrated concurrent drag and drop scheduler. From automated invoicing, lesson notification, multi user account management, and reports that keep your fingers on the pulse of your business, and so much more. You will soon expand your private instruction studio to its full capacity with seemingly no effort at all, allowing you to do what you actually want to do, your true love and passion. My true love and passion, music, not administrative clerical work. After all, you could do that for a big corporation at a fraction of your potential income using MusicSoft. And depending on your hourly rate, you could teach just 20 hours a week, which is only half a work week, and be making a six-figure salary just 1 year from now. So contact us today to schedule your free demonstration to see how our MusicSoft private music instructor management system can allow you to achieve your goals and dreams. And if you already have a music school or you manage other teachers and assign them students, MusicSoft's faculty management and room scheduling system will make managing your professional music studio smooth as butter. You have already taken the first step by beginning your private music teaching business. Now, expand your client base without the administrative nightmare that otherwise comes with client expansion while doing business with paper. Instead, use MusicSoft, which is consumer grade business management software. Contact us today for your free demo and watch your business magically transform from difficult to easy literally overnight. MusicSoft systems for private music teachers and music studios. Contact us today, musicsoft.net. We are back. We are back. So, we are talking about how much you're charging for your lessons. If you work a 20-hour work week and you charge, if you work a 40-hour work week and you charge $50 an hour, you're earning $100,000 a year. You're in the six-figure salary range. You get to go buy a boat. You can buy a yacht. You can do whatever you want. You can pay off your credit card. You can buy your mother a vacation. You can send your sister on vacation. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can donate to whatever you want to donate. It's up to you. So let's just look at the numbers. 40 hours a week, $50 an hour, that's $100,000. Let's cut that in half. So if you work a 20-hour work week, And we're talking about chargeable hours. You're already working 100 hours a week anyway doing musicals, but because you don't have MusicSoft, we're going to cut that down too, right? Time is more valuable than money, by the way. If we cut it in half, instead of working a 40-hour work week, you're working a 20-hour work week. You're giving 20 hours of music lessons. That may seem like a lot. It's not a lot. I mean, you're working. You're doing what you love anyway. Pick up an instrument and put on the metronome and play along with them. That way, you get to practice your scales while they practice their scales. You get to learn all sorts of new music. Okay, it's a lot of fun actually. You're doing what you love. So now you're working 20 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week. You've cut your work week in half. So if you want to keep that six-figure salary, you have to double your rate. Instead of charging $50 an hour, you charge $100 an hour. And you may be thinking, well, I can't get away with charging $100 an hour right now. That's okay. It's not going to happen right away. You build up your clientele. They see that there's value, that people come in, right? You have a certain number of students in your studio. And then as you go from $50 an hour to, $55 an hour next semester, and then the following semester, you'll go to $60 an hour. Maybe one of them will drop off. And then the next semester, you go to $65 an hour. And then another one will drop off, but another one will come in who's at a higher income bracket. And yes, there are people out there at higher income brackets. And then you go to $70 an hour the next semester, right? It's only been 2.5 years. And then you go to $75 an hour, $80 an hour, $85 an hour. And now you've already got 17, 18, 19 people in your studio because you're using MusicSoft. You're already making so much more. You've long since quit your job and you're doing music full time and you're using MusicSoft. And then you hit $90 an hour, $95 an hour, $98 an hour, $99 an hour. They'll pay it. They'll pay it because the service that you're offering, when you teach a student how to read music, you're teaching them how to read. They're becoming better readers. They're going to the top of their class. You're teaching them discipline. You're teaching them focus.
Absolutely. And when you're a good teacher, speaking of you becoming more in demand, some of the families, they need a specific hour. Okay. If you have 3 families and 2 of them both want 5 o'clock on Tuesday and none of the other days are time work, one of the family is going to be willing to pay extra to get that 5 o'clock.
It's peak hours. It's basically airline scheduling.
Exactly. And if you're established, you're a good teacher, you have a professional studio and their children is actually improving and enjoying it. The family, they're not going to say, well, I'll just quit or I'll find someone else. It's not going to work. They're going to be willing to pay for what you're worth. So they're going to say, okay, well, you've raised your tuition. I want that 5 o'clock over. And then you may just be able to raise your price because you are in demand. And please believe you're worth it. What you have, your skills, what you're offering is worth it.
And as you grow, once you get to 5 or 6 students, every new student you take on, you're going to lose a student. And you're not going to know why. You're going to think, oh, it's because of this. Oh, because they signed up for football. Oh, it doesn't have anything to do with any of that. It's because you're not able to pay them the attention that they need because you don't have MusicSoft. So give us a call. Our number is on the webpage at musicsoft.net. That's musicsoft.net. Give us a call, and thank you for listening. We've had a good time here. Tell all your friends. Let them know. Post it on your social media. The Johnny and Luna Be Sharp live chat. We will see you next Friday right here on our channel at 10 a.m. Every Friday at 10 a.m. Have a great weekend.